Hey, where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you when the sports ball thing happened that was awesome or really bad? These guys want to talk about it, Joel and Chad. Did a game change your life? Were you there in the crowd? Did you weep like a baby because you were so proud? Do you have a tattoo or a ritual or two that you actually believe's the reason why they win or lose? Yeah, where were you? Where were you?
Where were you?
Where were you for history in the making? Did it make you happy or crazy mad? These guys want to talk about it, not a single doubt about it. Listen to them talk about it, Joel and Chad.
Hello, world, and welcome to another edition of Where Were You? This is the podcast that asks the very important question, where were you when the sports ball thing happened? My name is Joel Beck. I'm flying solo today. My co-host, Chad Konecki, is out of the country. He'll be back before you know it, but we do have somebody who was more than capable of filling his shoes today, and I'll introduce him in just a second. But today's show is absolutely a must-listen for Cleveland sports fans. It's actually our first Cleveland-centric episode of Where Were You, which is hard to believe. I've lived here for over 20 years. It's been a little Boston heavy. But today we're all about the Cleveland, so my Cleveland brethren, I hope you're watching and listening. We're going to revisit the historic championship run of the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers, which is the city's first and still only major sports championship since 1964. And it's hard to believe it's been 10 years. It was a cathartic run back in the day. And we've got the perfect guest today to relive it with us. It's someone who was there in the thick of it every step of the way. He is a familiar face and voice to Cleveland sports fans. He's an Emmy award-winning broadcaster with more than 30 years in the industry. He's covered it all, multiple NBA finals, a World Series, the Olympics, Super Bowl, and all during his long run as the sports director and anchor at WOIO Channel 19 here in Cleveland. Recently, very recently, in fact, he made the leap into an entirely new career path. In fact, just days ago, found out he passed the bar exam. He's stepping into a brand new career, new chapter in law. We're glad he could take the time out of his busy schedule to join us today for this trip down memory lane. Please welcome Tony Zarrella. Tony, how are you, my friend?
Well, how you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for doing this. I really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
I'm honored that you asked.
Yeah.
I got a question. Does out of the
Sure.
country really mean out of the country, or is it like in
He's literally-
television news when you say they're on assignment, they're really fishing with their son, you know?
He's literally out of the country. In fact, I think he's on a plane right as we speak. I think he and his wife went to Italy, so
Good for them.
they should be coming back today. But but things are good, and so thank you so much for doing this. It's funny. I haven't seen you in a long time. I remember the first time we met. It was like over 10 years ago. I think the first time we met. It was at that. It was an event in downtown Cleveland for where Terry Francona was a guest bartender at one of the bars downtown.
Yep.
And you and I just happened to strike up a conversation. Turns out you and I have some like a unique bond. We're both native New Englanders.
Yeah.
You're originally from Taunton, Mass. Is that right? Is that where you grew up?
Right. Yeah.
I grew up in Foxborough. We both went to the same college. We're alumni of Emerson College, and we both landed in Cleveland. And we got
It's crazy, isn't it?
And we got to live through this, this crazy championship that the Cavs pulled off. But you were right there for like every minute of it. So there was so much on the line, I think, with this, and it was the moment that flipped Cleveland from lovable losers to champions, and so it was not just a title. It was really about decades of heartbreak finally, lifting, and Cleveland has certainly had its share of it, from John Elway and the Drive to Jose Mesa in 1997 and Jordan's shot over, in over the Bulls over Craig Elo in '89. But you were there. You were there for all of this, and tell me a little bit about what it was like to kind of be in the
There's
thick
so
of it.
many. Well, Joe, I mean, you go back to 2016. It's hard to believe it's 10 years ago.
I know.
So many storylines went into that, and of course, starting with LeBron and really securing his legacy by coming home and then fulfilling that promise to do it. I mean, it's like a story that you write for Hollywood. I mean, and he did it. That was first
Yeah.
and foremost. And going back to Game 7 on that June 19th at Oracle Arena, and his will to refuse to let them lose, which was just, I get chills still thinking about it, literally right here. But there were so many storylines,
Yeah.
that team, for that series, of course, playing them for the 4 years in a row that they did, and having lost the year before because they were so shorthanded, and then the way it played out coming back from 3-1. I mean, and as you know, in
Right.
if a series goes 7 games, every game takes on its own story. I mean, that's what's the great thing about a
Sure.
7 series. So even in that series, the way that played out, um, yeah, it's just remarkable. It wasn't just about Game 7, but of course, Game 7, which was one of, if not the most watched Game 7s of all time, played out and to be as dramatic as you'd
Yeah.
hoped.
I went back into some internet archives, and I was reading some of the stuff that you wrote back at the time, when you were at Channel 19, some of the on the website blogs, and you said you did so many radio interviews across the country that year, and almost unanimously, people were rooting for Cleveland, for the people you talked to.
True.
Would you say that was accurate? Yeah.
On a 100%. I mean, they were a feel-good story. LeBron had gone from being the most hated man in the NBA in the eyes of many people outside of South
Yeah.
Florida, to,
Yeah.
yeah, a guy that now you could really embrace and root for. And, Cleveland, had been the butt of jokes, and that as a city, obviously, and then coming back, a very, very likable team. A lot of people loved JR, a lot of people loved, Kevin Love.
Sure.
Oh, I mean, you know there was a real fondness for that team. I mean, when they changed coaches and went to Ty Lue, the vibe of the team changed, and they were a really easy team to root
Mhm.
for. And because they had lost the year before, and because the Warriors had somebody who's probably a very good guy, but in that role, Draymond Green was kind of a villain in the series. I mean, it was easy
Yeah.
for people outside of those 2 cities to root for the Cavaliers.
Sure. I wanna go, maybe start at the climactic moment. Well, gonna just kick it off right off the bat with Game 7. Talk about Game 7, and, the show's called Where Were You? Were you in Oakland? Were you there covering it, and courtside at the time?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say courtside because, as you probably know, for, most games, they stick the media way up
Yeah.
top. It's
Well, of
okay.
course.
It's really okay. I'm happy to be in the building. I'm courtside pregame and postgame, and, it's a really cool environment, especially the finals, especially the Bay Area. I mean, all of a sudden, for a very brief time, you're in the sphere of a lot of people. I'm standing next to Carlos Santana and here, "Oh, the guys from Metallica," and I sat down with Adam Duritz of Counting Crows and talked to him. It's really weird, and you'll never be there again. I won't, but,
It's
you
like a
know,
fe it's like a fever dream. You're right, yeah.
it's really wild. And then, but anyway, yeah, of course, I was at Oracle. I was blessed because we were all in as a station on the Cavaliers, and I think I'm willing to bet I was the only local TV guy that was at every series all 4 years. So, it was
Wow.
really cool because, you mentioned the Massachusetts thing. We are in Boston a few times for those series. Toronto is one of my favorite
Sure.
cities in the world. We were in Toronto. In fact, they had just come from Toronto when they clinched the East that year. I had moved to Cleveland from San Francisco. So I get to go back every year to what I think is a phenomenal city. So the trips were fun, first and foremost. But being at Oracle, I had been there, of course, for every game, and I was there for Game 7. And I'll set the tone for you. When they'd get down to like the 3-minute mark, and or 4-minute mark, I'd start making my way down because I had to get to the elevator and beat people leaving the game. Obviously, I had to be in position when the game ended, whether it's Game 1 or not, Game
Right.
7. And I get down there,
Yeah.
and just for Game 7, they had also sent Mark Schwab, our other sports guy, because it was gonna be a big deal win or lose, and so he had joined me for that game, Game 7. We go down in the elevator, we walk into the media room to watch the final few minutes on TV. That's where we saw Kyrie's shot. Um, and
Yeah.
then we're literally, people are they're typing, the writers are going crazy, and, the game ends, and very unprofessionally, Mark Schwab and I high five. You'd never do that, ever, ever, ever do that, but we did it. Um, we get caught up in the moment, and then it was
How
also,
can you not? How can Yeah. That would definitely be I think the biggest challenge I have, if I covered a major sporting event. How do you separate your journalistic integrity from being a human, just being a fan. I mean, it's got to be. It had to have been hard. You're around these guys all the time, and how do you not
Mhm.
become emotionally attached to it?
Yeah,
Was there a fan that was screaming inside of you a little bit? Or,
happy for the city of Cleveland to be I
yeah,
mean, so happy. I remember I mean, I couldn't I had the earpiece in, I couldn't see the celebration downtown Cleveland, but I remember I had Ty Lue come on. We were right outside the press conference room. And so there was a little bit of a walk. I'd say 100 yards, 75 yards from the locker room down to that area, turn the corner. They go in there, and I'm standing here, and I'm live. We're live immediately after the game. And I've had different guys come on with me. And Ty Lue came on, and I was telling him, I was like, I wish you could see this. I said this on the air. I wish you could see what I'm hearing right now, but they're saying that there are hundreds of thousands of people in downtown Cleveland right now that are celebrating this time. And the
yeah,
look on his face was it was real. You couldn't fake it. The pride
yeah,
he felt in being a part of that. I
right,
didn't know he cried on the bench because as soon as the game ended, I sprinted to my spot, so I wasn't seeing anything at that point. I found out later he broke down on the bench and
yeah.
cried, but he had those same type of emotions with me.
Yeah,
Okay?
I watched the game at home, and you could hear even just from my house, you could hear it was just a symphony of car horns, just up the street, and I I regret so much that I didn't go downtown to the watch party. They were projecting the game, I think, outside. Back then it was the Quicken Loans Arena, it's Rocket Arena today, and my wife at the time had gone down with some friends and came back, and it was just uh, I think for whatever reason, I just had to stay home with the kids but I watched it on TV but it was still such a as the moments were counting down those final minutes when you had the Kyrie shot, the LeBron block, and when you start to it finally starts to seep in that this is gonna happen. Were you do you remember those moments? What that felt like?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what I remember the most. I
Yeah.
remember you know Draymond missed game 5, right?
Yes.
Because
I wanna talk about that more in a minute, but yes, go ahead.
okay.
Yeah.
So I remember
Yeah.
leading up in game 7, Draymond had a huge first half. In fact, he had a big game overall. I think he had 30 plus in that game. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was
Mhm.
really nervous. They were down 7 at the half. And I was like, this is a disaster. I remember somebody from the
Yeah.
Cavaliers told me after the game, the Cavaliers were very, very comfortable with that. They wanted him to keep shooting.
Mhm.
'Cause now the other guys aren't shooting, obviously. They weren't worried at all that he was scoring. I was worried, and if you remember in the start of the second half, JR came out and hit 2 huge threes right away, and it turned the game,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, it was nip and tuck, and as it started to go, the longer that second half went, then I feel good about it. I didn't feel great about it. You have Steph Curry on the other side. If you needed a shot,
Yeah.
yeah, and he's gonna make that shot. Who would have seen some of those things playing out? The block. I mean, but they were for real. Obviously, the Cavaliers. They
Yeah.
had 23, and I mean, he wasn't going to let them lose that day. As it got down and it got tight in that fourth quarter, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. To be honest with you,
Did you get up close to the players after the game? Did you get to talk to them? I mean,
I
I'm
did
sure
in
it was a
my.
mob scene, but,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I did. So
No.
this was the first time Schwabi I didn't go to the locker room. Schwabi went to the locker room, and I stayed outside in that live thing because I was gonna have to anchor the coverage from that spot, and I had players coming to me, brought to me, or I'd grab them. Tristan was out there with his mom, and I had them come on. Well, here's a really interesting scene. David Griffin, the general manager, was gonna come on with me,
Mhm.
and he's walking toward me, and Steph Curry is walking by me. He had just left the press room to do the main, press thing. And he's walking and they embrace in this huge hug. And then Steph continues on, and David Griffin comes over, and I said, that was awesome. That was really cool. And he said, oh my God, I've known Steph a long time. I tried to get him in my previous stop. It was a really cool moment that you're thinking, between the lines, and it's battle, battle, battle. A lot of these guys are close. They have a history that, you know, in that case, I didn't know about, and it was real. Steph Curry's happiness for David Griffin was real. It was a cool moment to see.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's you have to remember that they're humans too, and they all know each other probably off the court, and I'm sure you see that more often. But it's still cool to see, happen in real time. I would imagine. So, any other like weird emotional one offs that you remember, like from the players or fans or anything that you saw that you just
You
kind of
know,
burned in your
have you
brain?
been in there? Yeah, yeah. Silence. Like it's really weird. When when you're in the bowels of an arena or a stadium and you're behind the curtain and you see a lot of things. You see them practicing, you see ABC practicing the trophy celebration at 11 in the morning. And then
Yeah,
when you are in an arena or a stadium where they don't win, you hear silence. It's really eerie. When that game ended, it was complete
yeah.
silence. It was weird.
You
In
probably
fact,
just hear like a few stray Cavs fans.
it's Joel, it's so quiet that, like, you can hear the Cavaliers talking and clapping on the court. It's like it's really bizarre.
Yeah. The
Well, I
floor is yours. I mean, this is good
I
stuff.
remember being live outside what was the Q at the time before Game 6 with Ramona. We did all our shows there, and I remember saying, Kyrie Irving said, "If they win tonight, Game 6, we've figured it out." And I remember telling her that, and it's easy to say it now, but the belief that if they were gonna win and then somehow go back and win for the second time in 3 games at Oracle Arena against a 73-win team, defending champions, is right, it's hard to believe, but he had said that, "We're figuring this out. I think we gotta figure it out, and if we win tonight, we're good." And they did, and those words stuck with me.
Yeah.
They did.
I always felt like the turning point came you mentioned Draymond Green earlier, and it was that moment in game 4, which the Warriors won, but it was in the final minutes of game 4 where he hit LeBron. It was a flagrant foul. It was what he ultimately getting suspended for game 5. And when that happened, it was so surreal because, first of all, LeBron immediately reacted. But before the play was even over, the play was still live. It was still going on, and he immediately turned to Draymond, and they were jawing at each other. And I distinctly remember a moment there was something switched, and there was a look in LeBron's eye like that said, "Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this one because you're not getting another one." And that's how it felt. And that's what happened. I mean, it's like they just locked after that play. It's like we're serious now. Would you agree that's kind of what at least part of the factor of it, or
I think he's part of it. I do. I think Yeah, I do. I think it triggered something in the Cavaliers. I think Warriors fans would say, "Well, Draymond didn't play game 5 when you
yeah,
won that game." Well, and Steph Curry fouled out of game 6, I believe, you
sure.
know? So and Bogut get hurt, I think, in game 5, and so they lose Andrew Bogut. Things started to play and tilt a little bit in the Cavaliers' favor. Then again, LeBron and Kyrie each dropped 40, in game 5. So, I mean,
Yeah,
they turned the Jets after that. So I don't know that they were gonna be
they did.
denied such a great series, between 2 phenomenal teams, and, for the Warriors to set a record like that during the regular season and be defending champs, and for the Cavaliers to pull off that kind of comeback, it's storybook. It really is.
Yeah, the Warriors lost as many games in that playoff series in the entire playoffs, as they did the entire season. They lost 9 games total in the regular season, and they lost 9 games in the playoffs, which I thought was always kind of amazing that, um, because they were a juggernaut. It was like the 2007 Patriots, the team that wasn't supposed to lose. So there's a segment that we sometimes do on the show called the existential moment of dread, and it's a moment that often happens with sports fans where they're watching their favorite team, and you just get that gut feeling that, "Oh, no, this isn't good." Sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong, but I feel like this season and in addition to the playoffs, I mean, I feel there were a few moments like that. Obviously, falling down 3 games to 1, um, and having to win 2 out of 3 back at the Oracle. Were there any moments like that you remember where you just thought, "I don't think this is gonna happen?"
No. I
No,
no,
really?
well, certainly in the finals, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that if you narrow it down to the finals, I thought it was gonna be pretty tough to beat those guys. I mean
yeah.
the year before, it wasn't a fair shot. They lost Kyrie in game 1. Love had already had his shoulder yanked out against the Celtics. So,
Right.
that wasn't gonna but, I thought the way the Warriors were playing, this is a really daunting task to try to beat these
Oh,
guys. But leading up to that, in the East as a whole, no, I never once thought that they were in trouble against it, certainly Atlanta or even Toronto. I don't remember if I don't did they didn't have Boston in 2016? They might not have faced the Celtics that year
trying to remember. I shoulda looked it up. I don't think they did. No, and
because
I'm
they had
trying I can't
Atlanta
even it's
and
horrible.
they won the conference title again in Toronto. I remember being there. But
Yes,
either
I
way,
know they won in Toronto,
I never felt that was done. I thought they were
and
gonna go
I
back.
I had forgotten that Golden State fell down 3 games to 1 to Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Finals. I was going back this week, I'm like, "Oh, I completely forgot that they almost didn't get there either," but,
I don't
it was
remember
just
that
too
at all.
a
Yeah.
moment of if there was a moment of dread that I had, it actually happened, for me at the time was when they made the midseason coaching change, when they fired David Blatt and brought in Tyronn Lue. Because it was just it it, at the time, I felt like the best way to describe it, feel like the team felt rudderless. I felt like it felt like a desperate move for some, and I turned out to be wrong, but you don't see a lot of championship teams that had, especially teams that had been to the finals the year before, as the Cavs had over a 600 winning percentage, fire their coach, and then it just seemed like a team that was kind of lacking direction and leadership. I don't in hindsight, I don't think that was the case at all, but did you feel like that at all at the time when it happened? Or
The only thing I felt at the time was I thought they had gone, um, where they had gone with David Blatt despite David Blatt, okay?
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure where it was gonna go with Ty Lue. I wasn't sure if this is a LeBron move, and I'm not saying LeBron orchestrated it, but it could have been to appease. Ty was, of course, much tighter with guys on that team than David Blatt was. I don't think they ever understood David Blatt, and obviously the year before, when he got bailed out in Chicago from 2 very idiotic decisions, you know, um, and they saved him from
Mhm.
that. I didn't think that was ever gonna really play out the way they wanted to. So, wasn't surprised really, but
Sure.
I wasn't sure where it was gonna go. I mean, you're putting Ty in a position here where it's not roll the basketballs out and LeBron will do it from here. That just doesn't work, but it
Yeah,
worked. But I wasn't worried. I
sure.
wasn't over concerned about it. The only concerns that really and they were really small, the whole Kevin Love drama with the team and, you know, um, show up, don't show out, or whatever they would. There was tons of these hidden messages and all this stuff, and somehow they turned that into a camaraderie type thing with the pictures of Kevin on the model's body and all the stuff that they were doing somehow worked. It actually played in their favor and brought him into the fold because there was some there was a period there where it seemed like I don't there's no clicking here really with him, and where's this going? And then
Yeah.
we saw in game 7, with Kevin, it really played out well.
No, and that's what happens with championship teams. I think eventually it just starts to click, and things that didn't look like they were working, or players who didn't look like they fit in some way, that it all comes together, and that's what happened with them, I think. Were there any, I mean, Cleveland, I wanna talk a little bit about the legacy that this means in Cleveland today. Cleveland is a city that expects the worst when it comes to their sports teams, and and often have gotten it. This is the one that they can look back on and say, "Everything just went right." What do you think this title means today to the city of Cleveland?
I think from a sports perspective, I think it will it's that's a great question, Joel.
Mhm.
I think it will always have its own place, no matter what happens. So, I worked in Denver when the Avalanche came in. Denver is a football town.
Sure.
Cleveland is a football town. You say that to Guardians fans, they get
Absolutely.
angry. but it's a football town. In Denver,
Right.
when the Avalanche came in '96, they won the cup, okay? And it was a massive celebration downtown. And then a couple of years later, Elway finally got over the top and they won back to back, and it went up a level, okay? It was a different celebration.
Yeah.
Nothing the Avalanche. Um, Here, because it's LeBron, because of the comeback, because it was the Warriors in a rematch, everything that went into it, that will never be diminished. If the Browns win a Super Bowl, it will be, I mean, there'll be Browns backers flying in from Ireland. It'll be the biggest celebration in the
Oh,
history of the city. It will. Nothing will top it,
yeah.
but it won't diminish this. This has its own legacy and it will always stand because of the way it was done and because of who led it. The odds of him coming back here and doing that
Yeah.
the way he left and then the way they came back will never be matched. Nothing will beat that in its own way, right? So, I mean,
No.
um, that stands alone.
And that's it. I mean, there was a perfect storm of things that took place, including LeBron having to leave and come back. All that drama. It's almost like it's at the when he left the first time and he went to the Miami Heat, and this he was vilified in this town and everybody was so hurt and so angry. I think in some ways at least this is how I feel. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it ever again. I would do the how I wish he would do the same thing again because it made it better when he came back and delivered the championship. The fact that he had to leave and come back and kind of learn how to be a leader on a championship team, and then he came and delivered it here. It just made it so much more special, I feel like.
It's funny. I don't know that it's as simple as somebody getting into his ear after he won a couple down on Miami and saying, "You got to go home and make this right for your legacy."
Yeah.
More than for your hometown. It's not his hometown, and he was always very clear about that.
Right.
But I think his
Right.
legacy, if somebody was in here and said, "You gotta go home and make this right," that may have happened, okay? But the fact is, he did come home, and he did make it right, and he did say,
Mhm.
"Cleveland, this is for you." He understood the enormity of this for a fan base in a town, the emotional boost that this would give a city, he knew what that was gonna do. Um, I can't think of any athletes in that situation, considering he grew up down the street and was so famous at such a young age. And by the way, really always, other than the decision in the show, always handling things the perfect way, really. I mean, he didn't, he's not an issue off the court ever in anything in his life, in his little world that may have been an issue for a moment. He mitigated and it just always worked out. Um, I don't know. I can't think of another example of another athlete doing that.
What did this mean for you? Like, for your for you're not a Cleveland native, but were you correct me if I'm wrong, but you were on, TV in Cleveland for longer than any other city in your career. Is that correct? Or,
Yes, that is
yeah.
correct. Yeah, that's correct. I
What
was in
what did it
Denver
mean
for a long time, but I was up yeah, for a long time, 17 years in Cleveland.
17 years. What does it mean for you? Were you just the fact you got to be here and you got to cover that? The only probably because now you've moved on to a new career. This is will likely be the only Cleveland championship that you got to cover as a professional. Does that mean something to you?
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very, very emotional. I've covered a lot. I've been blessed to be in a position to cover a lot of things. And growing up in a city outside of Boston where as a fan, you had championships, but then covering championships in Denver, Pittsburgh, the Stanley Cups, Denver, the Super Bowls, and the 2 Stanley Cups. I mean, and they all have their own identity, and it's really cool. It's really cool to be there. This meant the most. This one here by far meant the most
Yeah.
to me because of the people in this city, because it's a phenomenal place to live. And even not being a native and you get tired, I would do radio hits with people and, from outside Cleveland. And while they were rooting for the Cavs, they're like, "Oh God, you live in Cleveland." I'm like, "Have you ever been to Cleveland? Do you have any idea what you're talking about?" Okay.
No. Tony, it's
um,
my biggest pet peeve. I know, yeah,
no, it's spectacular.
100%.
And
Yeah,
you know what? Cool.
people who make fun of
Don't
Cleveland.
come.
Yeah,
Even better, never come. But yeah, but but
right. We
the
we like
knowing
the
the
traffic
people.
here the way it is. Exactly.
Absolutely. Knowing the people here, um,
Right.
this was by far for me the most emotional thing to witness up close, and yeah, it was my favorite. I mean, it was really that was a really
Nice.
special time. It
Well,
was with the Indians in 2016, of course, as well, and but they also clinched the league title in Toronto, ironically enough, and then it came close to
that's true.
yeah, it
Yep.
was
Yep.
well done. But I mean, they came close to finishing the job, and that would have
Very
been
good.
spectacular. But the
Yeah.
completeness, LeBron and everything coming home. I don't know what it will ever top this in this city.
Well, now we just got to get the Browns to win one, so you can come out of retirement, and we'll get you a microphone. We'll get you down. We'll get you down to the new stadium out in Brook Park, and we'll you can relive that glory. Me and yeah,
Everybody talks about Buffalo, right? Everybody talks about Buffalo, and when
right.
they get into the playoffs, everybody is I so want Buffalo to win, and I feel the same way. I would love
Sure.
it's a great town, love to see them win the Super Bowl, okay? Um, but I mean, this fan base here is unparalleled, and there's nothing against other fan bases in other cities. They're great. Denver's a great fan base. They've had a lot of success. They had a John Elway, and they had 2 Super Bowls or more. They had Peyton come in and win one too.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying they wouldn't still be great fans. The story for the Browns will be if they get to a Super Bowl, it won't be who's their quarterback. It won't even be the coach. It'll be the fan base. That's what's going to be the storyline for that. And they deserve it. And that'll be its own unique, incredible, unparalleled thing.
Some closing thoughts. We talked about the impact this had. Does this remain? Why does this remain? I think one of the most emotional championship stories ever, in your opinion.
Well, the city of Cleveland hasn't had one since, and
Yeah.
it's hard to believe it's been 10 years, but it has. The Indians slash Guardians, well, they were the Indians when they came closest. You've had people come into this town, not in football, although you had a couple of playoff runs there, but like not consistently. You've had like the Guardians organization is tremendous and they're always in the conversation, but they're not
Yeah.
they and the Cavaliers had to take a minute. And they're blessed, by the way, to have Donovan Mitchell. I mean, the odds of getting a top 10
Sure.
player,
Yeah.
like, I mean, he's phenomenal. And now you have another Hall of Famer. You should be winning that. You should be making a deep run here. But it hasn't happened. And, I don't know how you ever find a storyline quite like LeBron James again. I don't, you'll have your own storyline. You'll have a new one. You'll have a quarterback come in here and actually work out
Yeah.
and have a love affair like the Bernie days, but it hasn't happened. And until it happens, it's so easy to look back on that 2016 team. Don't ever forget how much you loved J.R. Smith and how much you loved J.R. Smith.
Right.
Sure, in Vegas and then at the parade. And those moments, the character of that team, I mean, the character of that team was just there was son Richard Jefferson and what a person he is. I mean, you know,
Right.
nothing about him. It's not just winning games, it's the
I
whole
know.
movie, that's special.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about the parade. I mean, gosh, that was a whole thing in itself. I mean,
You remember
talk about
how
the city
it
being
was? Were you
unprepared. They
down
didn't
there?
even put a I was not
Did
down
you
there, but I remember. I mean, it was, yeah, middle of June, and,
it was so hot
they
and and it was because it was so crowded, it became hotter. I mean,
right.
it's just if you camp someplace, I mean, and it was wonderful. It was, there was it's incredible. This city's incredible. Northeast Ohio
Yeah.
is just I don't know. It's a
There's nothing
special
like it.
no, it's a special place.
Yeah.
There were you know, tears. I'm sorry, it's a sporting event, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
showing up to work the next day and having a shared, emotion about this thing. I mean, that's what's good as what's great about sports is that it transcends what's between the lines. I mean, it's a common
Right.
experience for people, and in this particular case, it was a historic shared experience. Um,
Yeah.
and the parade kept it off. And it was just,
It's a great equalizer. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the thing that it's the thing that gets everybody. I mean, that's why I started this podcast, is because just the memories of about where you were when these things happened. It's the things that stay with you. I don't understand how people don't like sports sometimes. I get it. It's not for everybody, but I mean, it is. It's the great uniter. It's the thing. Usually somebody can find something, some storyline in it that is interesting, and this one just had so many of them. So the show is called Where Were You? My name is Joel. My co-host Chad is usually here. Today we're with Tony Zarrella, a longtime Cleveland sportscaster. Uh, those of you who are listening, you can send in your Where Were You stories. You can email us at info@wherewereyou.com. The best way, and I say this every week, the best way for anybody to support this podcast is to hit the subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or iHeart. The more followers and subscribers we have, the more this will grow, and we'll just keep doing it. It's going to be fun. You can find us on social media, Facebook, all the social media sites. And yeah, so many people to thank. Tony, thank you for coming. So I want to thank my sister Molly Beck Ferguson, who wrote and recorded the original theme song. Did you hear our theme song yet, Tony? Have you had a chance to listen to
No,
that yet?
no, can you get it going?
I can't get it going right now, but you know what? I'll send it to you afterwards. My sister
Send it to
Molly,
me. I wanna hear it.
she's also an Emerson grad. So you guys might have
Oh,
just
that's
missed
she
each
read it.
other.
Does she copyright this?
She not yet, but, she better get on it pretty soon, so, I can't thank you enough for coming on and doing this. What do you got? Anything that you wanted to plug, anything you wanted to talk about you got coming up going on, or
I've made the shift. I'm
Yeah,
really, really excited that I've always wanted to do it. I loved what I did for 35 years in television sports, but I always wanted to go to law school and take and pass the bar exam, and so I'm excited. I mean, it's a new challenge at an older age, and, um, it feeds my soul. So,
I love it. I love it. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations, and like, you just texted me on Friday. You just found out this, like, 3 days ago that you passed the bar. Is that right?
just found
Oh,
out, and that's a good day. That is a good day, man.
that's good. Well, pop the
It's like when you
champagne
opened
and
up that
enjoy.
envelope. You opened up that envelope, Joel, and it said, "Emerson College is proud to, accept you as a class of whatever," right?
We made it. Wow. Tony Zarrella, thank you so much for doing this. Let's do it again, because I know you
I'd
have
love
more stories to tell, and we'd love to have you back
I'd love
on.
to,
So,
man. Thank you very much.
he's Tony Zarrella. For Chad Konecki, he'll be back next time. You'll love Chad when he comes on. He's a character. Um, my name is Joel Beck. This is Where Were You, and we'll see you guys next time.